I'm Gabriella Richardson, and I am a lover of learning. I am a cultivator of community, and I am a seeker of belonging.
Everybody has a story to contribute that will hopefully help somebody else in a similar position.
Compassion is at the heart of it all.
I am a messy and imperfect human, just trying to do my best to make this world a little bit of a better place.
And the compassionate heart and mind is how we start to heal as a people and find common ground.
Feels like there's a lot of power there.
So I look forward to you joining me in that pursuit on the Nexus of Narratives.
What a beautiful thing this turned into.
The one and only T. I am so excited to share space with you here. I'm in my living room with my daughter's silly face.
So cute.
So it'll be a little joy for anyone watching video. But I've only known you for a handful of months now. We met at this, I don't know if you'd call it a retreat, for this like personal development seminar series at the last of the advanced seminars. And we got to know each other real good, real fast.
Real fast.
Yeah. And we actually met the day before we went to the ranch and had dinner together. And I was immediately like drawn to you. And I was like, I feel like she and I are going to be friends. And
we literally sat right in front of each other.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I love your pants.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was wearing my fun
Let's
pants.
be friends.
So you're an amazing person. You're someone who's just like always doing so many things, and you have like a crochet business. You also just started a podcast of your own that's like already going so well. You're starting your own brand while you still like have a day job, and just like really the epitome of a strong, amazing woman who's doing all of the things. And I admire you so deeply for that. So
thank you.
Thank you. And if you were to bump into a person just randomly to be like, hey, here's who I am, like, what would you say?
Such a good question, because I was recently, earlier this year, I was in a 90-day program that made me do that. So if I were to bump into someone randomly, I would probably tell them, first I would honestly ask, like, how's your day? Are you surviving today? I mean, because I say that because, you never know what anyone else is going through. And like to put yourself in someone else's shoes, right? Like it's not hard to just be nice to someone else, whether you're in a grocery line or anything like that. So I always like try to just like, if I find myself standing in the line and it's really long, like to get a poke bowl. You know what a poke bowl is?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I love those. Anytime I offer to go get takeout and my husband's like, oh, yes, we're going to indulge. And I'm like, oh, let's go get poke bowls. He goes, he would choose something super healthy.
Yes. Like, so here, the line to the Foodland one, which is like the best, it's always about maybe like half a mile long. So, if I were like in a line and I'm just like randomly talking to somebody, I would just tell them like, hey, first of all, I'm just a girl. And I would tell them, ask them like, what is it that they're doing right now? Like, what are they doing for them right now? And that conversation always opens up really easily for other people to connect. So I am a podcaster. I am a business owner. I own a clothing brand, and I also do custom crochet. And then lastly, I'm a project manager from 9 to 5. I love, really, how would you say, like having new experiences, doing things that I haven't done, specifically eating things that I haven't ate too. Love that. And I just love spending time with my friends, my family, and just really pulling everything that I can out of this life that I have right now.
Oh, that's so amazing. I love that so much. And where are you? Because everyone else has been near me in Colorado. So where are you?
I'm just, in on a little island in the middle of the ocean we call Hawaii. I live on the island of Oahu, in Honolulu. That's probably the bigger city everyone kind of recognizes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's amazing. So we had chatted quite a bit on some different tangents. And for anyone who's interested in learning more about like your work and supporting your businesses, we can include some links in the show notes too, so that folks can support you as well. But yeah, we chatted about some cool topics. So like, where would you like to start with sharing a story of yours?
Let's see. Let's see. Oh, you know what? Let's just go ahead and get into it. So, I was in a relationship. It ended last September, and we were together for just that 4 years. And we didn't really have anything goal oriented with our relationship, so it ended. And so I waited. Well, I wouldn't say I waited to start dating. I kind of like dipped my toe in the dating pool periodically since January. And the water has been cold. Reacclimating myself into meeting new people and going on dates and getting to know other people has honestly been an interesting, I don't want to say it's a challenge. It's been definitely a huge opportunity to really see how I'm showing up now that I've been, really becoming more self-aware, doing a lot more work on myself. And the discernment that I have started to use more and like really tapping into my intuition of, I don't know, almost makes me feel like I want to say, you know what, I'm going to say it, picky. Yes, I have been picky, and rightfully so. I feel like everyone,
as you should be.
Yes, you got to be picky on what you want. Just because, you and him both like anime and you both like going to the beach, those shouldn't be the deciding factors as to like this person is like doesn't listen to me, like they talk over me, like, so I've been making a lot of it's honestly it's not that I have been learning about these other men, and at the same time I've been learning like so much more about myself and how I'm showing up. And it's like, okay, I want to find my person one day, and that means that I also need to be the person that I want to attract, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I went on a date and we went to like this little bar, and so it's a little low key bar. So I was like, you know what? I don't need to I'm not going to dress like uppity. And also like, I don't want to be too casual. So I just had on like a little sundress. It's sundress season, and some heels, I was like, okay, keep it cute, keep it simple. And he showed up in what looked like he just came from the gym. And like, don't get it messed up. I love me some athleisure. I'm an athleisure girly. Like, you'll catch me in leggings 95% of the time. So
here I am in my leggings right now.
I'm literally wearing biker shorts right now too. Like, you'll catch me like being real comfy a lot in public. So I was just kind of like, you start to open yourself up and connect with someone. And I personally wasn't someone who thought too deeply into physical first impressions. And when I saw that, my immediate reaction was like, oh, he's not taking this very seriously. Not saying that I needed him to end up like come in a 3-piece suit, but like that was like my first impression. And it really made me think about first impressions are everything. Like, because it's going to show the intention when you first meet somebody. And so, we got to talking and stuff. Definitely figured out he is not someone that I wanted to date. And a deciding factor in that was after we were done, he wanted to get something from a corner store. And so he asked me, well, where's the corner stores around here? And I was like, I don't know, and he's like, well, you're from this area. And I said, well, no, I'm not. And for two, like, it's 2024. If you don't know how to go somewhere, then get on the Maps app. Well, I don't know. And he kept, and like, I can understand the first time asking me, because generally, yeah, okay, maybe I may have known. Then he asked me like 4 more times. And I'm like, I literally said, and this might sound kind of brash would be the word. I was like, can you Google it? Like, lead yourself there. I mean, and so that kind of, little things like that were popping up in our conversations and our interactions where, I felt like, okay, like, he's kind of asked me a lot of questions to direct him to something or somewhere. And I was like, maybe that's not somebody that I want to kind of be around, and it's, I'm not saying that, like, that's why I go back to the nitpicky part, because honestly, like, whatever we do, however we hold ourselves and be with other people in one specific situation, that characteristic shows up in other places. So, if he's telling me, like, asking me 5 times where to find something, and I'm telling him I'm not sure, you have tools and resources, like, then that kind of tells me a little more about you than you even said. So using that kind of discernment has been something very new for me in the dating game of 2024. So that was my stint on a first date recently.
That kind of sounds stressful. Like, I don't envy the dating world. But it sounds like what I'm hearing is like, I am figuring out what is a good fit for me and what, like, I am and am not willing to kind of put up with. And I've learned what I deserve.
Yes, absolutely. That deserving is the key word there, because, we talk about compromising in relationships, which is amazing and it's great. And I absolutely am for it. And at the same time, it's just like, well, there's things too where compromise kind of takes a back burner to like taking action and just really having to do certain things when you're going to be with somebody, and so that was don't envy the dating world. It's really it's a zoo out there.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because like that kind of behavior is probably like not a big deal for some people, but for you, you're like not for me. So I'm curious to like really dig into, is this sounds like the way that you led up to it. It sounds like this isn't something that's like normal for you to be like, hard pass. That's something that's like not going to cut it for me. So let's dig into that.
So yes, absolutely. And it's kind of funny because, like you mentioned earlier, you and I got to know each other very quickly, very rapidly, very deeply. And so to know me is to know that I'm a huge personality. I'm very outspoken. And it was kind of interesting because before, maybe like a year ago, when I was with my ex, or even in relationships before that, I was very, very passive, almost like for like most of the relationship, where it's like, well, I would like to go on a date, and he would be like, I don't really feel like going out. And I'm like, okay. Like, I wouldn't really speak my emotions out because I was actually dating for me before. I was coming from a place of lack. like I don't have enough love. I'm lonely, right? And when I was coming from that place, I was going into relationships out of desperation. And with that desperation, I didn't want to do or say anything that would make this person leave me. And so it was like it was such a breakthrough. And then to be fully aware of that's how I was being, I was like, okay, I had to really build up, the value in myself. And that value is not for necessarily other people. It was for me, like people would tell me, oh, you do this and you're so great at that. And I would always actually cut myself down instead of just saying thank you. And, it was just, it fell into so many parts of my life, where even at work, they would say, oh, great job on this. I always would have a comment like, well, I could have done this and it could have been faster, like kind of just like giving myself backhanded, not compliments.
Yeah, but kind of like taking it down a notch. So hold on. There, like you said some like pure gold a couple of times here. Is I want to like really like slow down and digest the moment when you said I was coming from lack in a love space, like not even in a dating space, like to think of it from that lens, like for anybody who is or is not in a relationship to feel like you are approaching a relationship from a place of lack and the impact that had on you. Like I'd love to spend a little bit more time on that just so that like that can really in for people, because wow.
Yes.
About how you showed up. Yeah, let's go into that more.
Yeah. I always thought, well, actually, let me retract that. The way that we give and receive love is the way that we received it from our parents, and it goes back, right? And it's no one's inherent fault. It's just how it is, right? And so this is in no way to bash my parents. And it's just that, like, when I was little, I was the kid that was like, mommy, look, and I'm doing something like weird or like, wow, okay, you put a pencil on your head. And so when you get reactions, right, of like, oh, okay, like those subconsciously grew in my head that, okay, like I'm not getting enough like attention, or I'm not getting enough love because this is how they react to me when I ask for it, right? And so with kids, right, it's like mommy look, daddy look, and it's almost in a form of like, I want you to show me that you love me right now, it's like it's a call out, and so I that really manifested itself into my life, like as I was growing up as a kid. As I was growing up. So when I got into romantic relationships, now I'm performing for this person because I want to cook dinner every night because I want you to tell me like how much you loved it and how much, that it was really good and stuff like that, and that's nothing bad coming from that person because it had everything to do with me, it's like, if I'm not loving me at 100%, how can I allow myself or allow someone else to love me, right? And in a relationship, for myself, I'm going to come from I was putting the responsibility of the other person needing to fill this void when it's not their responsibility. So I was leading myself to disappointment every single time because it's not going to work that way. Like two people have to come in their wholeness, right? And so it's like, okay, I want to do this for them because I want them to give me love. And that's not authentic, right? You're doing something because now it's becoming more transactional than it is genuine. And it made me realize, my relationships haven't really been working out because I'm going into it as I'm going to do this for you so you can love me instead of I just want to connect with this person.
I feel that deep in my soul too.
Yeah.
Like I feel called out. in a way.
I mean, don't get it messed up. Relationships at points are transactional. Like, that's true. But like for me, I was just putting this responsibility on other people and I was being let down. And it was easier for me to blame them than it was for me to look at me and being like, okay, why am I making this man, putting all this pressure on him to, do this, treat me like this, which I'm not saying they don't need to treat you good. But at the same time, like, I don't even love myself 100%. I don't even know what that feels like, just me for me, And so I'm making this person assume that role. And obviously, where we're at in our life is a result of all the choices that we've made. So when I sat there and I said, okay, all these relationships did not work. And the common denominator is always going to be me. So like, that's the person that I need to look at. That's the person that I need to love before I'm even capable of loving somebody else.
Mm-hmm. That's so powerful. Yeah. And I do feel like a resonance of this balance, right? Of like, yeah, you want to make sure that your partner is like showing their love to you in the way that you feel loved, right? But to put the weight on them to also fill your self-love is not healthy.
It's crazy.
It's always going to lead to disappointment. And like putting it that way, like it sounds bananas.
It
right?
does.
And it makes me think about like, I've been very transparent about having been married before and going into that from a place of having no self-love. And I realized after years of therapy that like I sat in that because I felt like that's what I deserved, because I didn't have enough self-love or respect for myself to, even in the moments where I'd say like, oh, it shouldn't be like this, I was still, there was something deep down in my body that was like, but you don't deserve any better. So like, this is what you're going to get. And it was completely modeled. And it was like, yeah, this is how, some people are going to show up in your life. And I just accepted it. And when I finally like stepped into my space of saying like, this is what I deserve, I'm not going to accept anything else. Like I made the decision to step out of the relationship, and ironically met DJ, my husband, while we were in the middle of a very messy divorce. And I was very open with him. And I was just like, this is what, and it was like maybe too abrasive that I was like, this is where I am right now. This is me. Take it or leave it. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care at all. Like, I don't want the drama.
Yeah. Just whatever.
Yeah. And I had my moments too where like he said something. This was when I realized I needed to go to therapy. Was he gave me the most simple compliment. And I lost it. I started bawling. I was like, I don't deserve this. And then I was like, I need to see someone. If you're willing to just kind of like hang out, like
I'll be right back.
I'm gonna go take care of whatever's happening here.
Yes.
And then maybe we can try to like make this work. So like we took our relationship like slow for a bit as we were like I was trying to kind of fix whatever was going on.
Yeah.
And then like got back into it. And that was a really powerful experience. And now we've had a lot of crap happen since then, and a lot of like couples therapy and a lot of like growth individually and together since, which highly recommend finding ways to grow with your partner. But like, I think that was part of what was powerful of going into our relationship, was being like, here I am.
Like, this is it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you. So, I am a single woman, and so I have been playing with the idea of, okay, so in my next relationship, I really want to like go into that, like doing therapy together. And so the only thing that I know of therapy in couples is what I see on TV. Hate to say it. So
which is horrible.
Yeah, which is not great. And so I think for me, my point of resistance is I almost go back into that mindset of lack where I'm like, oh my gosh, if I ask this person to do this, and what if they say no and then they want to leave me? Because I can see where the strength in a relationship can come from that, because it's like you're going to be looking at each other and you're not going to be able to hide. So how has therapy like really helped you guys both to grow? And because you're going to be sharing things that either one of you have never heard from each other, right? It's that, for me, it's that fear of judgment, it's that fear of rejection, to being like completely open about something, and you have like a third party unbiased opinion there too, to kind of like facilitate the conversation. So how does that work? Because I need to know. The single ladies need to know.
I love facilitating back to the facilitator. I absolutely love it. So yeah, I'll share my experience just because, I'm not a therapist, and there are so many different ways of therapy, especially with couples. And I think what I've seen on TV is I'm going to use therapy to prove I'm right. And I'm going to get the therapist on my side and see, they're going to show you that you're wrong. And that's what I hear as resistance from a lot of people. That was not our experience. And more often than not, I'd be like, I thought I was right going into this. Damn, I'm wrong. But not from like a right or wrong place. So what we did, our therapist practiced emotion focused therapy.
Okay.
And I might be using the words wrong, but it is called EFT. And so it was a lot of we actually spent our first chunk of time digging into our family systems and the relationships within our families. And that really helped to uncover what we were raised into and what our patterns were modeled and what we do and don't know about what a healthy relationship looks like. And so then that helped to really tie back. We'd go in, we did it for, I want to say 2.5 years together, because I'd approached him we're going to therapy together or our relationship is done.
Okay.
Was where I was at. And so going into this was cool because we got to really dig into this is where we're coming from. These are the cards that we were dealt relationship wise. And so then what was helpful for me sitting in that space was it wasn't judgmental. Where I would be feeling judgment, DJ would share something and then our therapy would be like, wow, that sounds really hard. This is what I'm picturing. This is what I'm hearing. And then processing it more. And then I'd sit there and I'd be like, oh, that's what's under all of these layers. And so through our therapy, we were in a place, and we're going to do some episodes together at some point when the comfort level is there, and it'll probably be a multi-parter.
Oh, absolutely.
We both went into our relationship with a lot of baggage and a lot of trauma, and we actually didn't really enter our relationship in a arguably healthy way to be secure, because we were both kind of scared of commitment going into it. I was in the middle of a really messy divorce and really not ready to step into it, but I knew that I really liked him and I wanted to see where it went. And him going from a place of not really having healthy relationships modeled and feeling insecure and having his patterns of and being I don't really want her to see all of me. And so there was a lot of emotional withholding. And so for us, we'd uncovered through therapy this really unhealthy, we called it a cycle. So when I would start to go into, I call it going into my shit, I would have a really high need for attachment. And so I would be afraid of abandonment and feeling really insecure and really unsure because I was feeling unstable and I wasn't feeling secure in our relationship. And having come out of this marriage that I was in previously, I was I got out of one before, so I can get out of this again. I don't need you. And me telling myself with that, be oh, I'll be fine on my own, I don't need this, was like closing off a part of me from our relationship. So I was able to learn that about my patterns. And then with him, learning about how he would respond was he would need some space when he went into his shit. And so then him being like, I just need to collect myself and separate from this heightened emotion. I just need to take a step back. And meanwhile, I'm like, wait, you're taking a step back, you're abandoning me. And he's like, no, I just need a little bit of space so that I can breathe. And I'm like, you're leaving me.
Yeah.
And so we would actually like, our needs were the exact opposite. And so then we would very quickly like,
yeah.
And so like our lows were low and our highs were really high and like so great and like amazing. And so we were able to like really build an understanding through therapy of those patterns to be like, oh, you're in the hole right now. And, you know, we've had so many sessions where it's like, oh no, when DJ does this, it actually means that like, he just needs a little space. It doesn't mean he loves you any less. Doesn't mean he's trying to leave you. Doesn't mean he doesn't want to ever be with you again. That's still like, he still wants to be with you. He also just like needs a breather. And so was able to help me kind of rewire my insecure and anxious attachment. And so it helped us to build a much more secure relationship so that we can actually like go through hardship together. And now we can have a fight and be like, it doesn't get as heightened and elevated, and I'm not going into panic attacks anymore.
Yeah.
Like I used to go into panic attacks so often, like maybe once a week, from this attachment trauma that I had. And now if we get into an argument, like it's just about the topic, and I'll be like, you know what, I'm really upset because of this thing. And I'll be like, well, I'm upset because of this thing. I'm like, well, and then we figure out a way to figure it out, which we're still figuring out.
Yeah.
But there isn't that like threat of our entire life.
Right.
Everything that we know with every disagreement that we have. And that has been magical, to just simply have an argument, which sounds so
and
silly.
it just be that, just be the argument, nothing else added to it.
And it's not about our entire life together.
Yeah.
So, like, that's what therapy did for us.
Wow. That's powerful.
So 10 out of 10 would recommend. Also, like interview your therapist. Like that's what I loved. I've had so many different therapists, and they've all served me at different times for different reasons. And we just so happened to get lucky with our couples therapist because she was a recommendation from a friend, and she just worked with us, and it worked really well. And so I've had some therapists where I'm like, I don't feel like I'm jiving with them. And then to just be like, this doesn't feel like the right fit. That's totally okay. Like if you don't feel like you can be completely open with that person, then like it wasn't worth it for me to feel like, if I felt like this person doesn't get me, then it's a waste of time and money.
Right. Like there's nothing else you need to prove after that. Like you don't have to prove yourself wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. It's expensive.
Yeah. By the hour.
Yeah. So actually every single therapist that I've ever seen, I did like a 15-minute, I just want to talk to you and get to know you a little bit. And then I decided whether or not I wanted to set up a session with that person. Okay. So then it made it feel like there was no downside to it. So,
I'm gonna keep that in mind, because I never thought to interview them.
Yeah.
It's like a babysitter for your brain, right?
Yeah, they're holding your inner child in their hands. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, because then like I had to decide. It's almost kind of like dating your therapist.
Yeah, I mean it's an intimate, you know, scenario.
It is. Yeah. And so what therapy did for us, and we've talked about this because we've both like graduated from therapy since, what therapy did for us was like give us the intellect to be like, oh, here's that, here's this, here's that. And then like we've supplemented it with our personal development work to now be like, this is now how we're completely changing our routines. Like, so we've had to like play with a cocktail of different things to make it work. But yeah, 10 out of
Right.
10 would recommend.
Don't go anywhere just yet. We're going to continue this conversation in just a moment.
Check it out.
I am so grateful that you have chosen to spend your time with me here on the Nexus of Narratives. I know that time is our most invaluable resource, and I am grateful for your support by just listening. If you would like to further support the podcast and my continued work in this space, please go to www.nexusofnarratives.org. That is NEXUSOFNARRATIVES.org for more content, ways to support, and connect with others. The Nexus of Narratives is a project, a passion project of mine in the Nexus Impact. So if you are looking for coaching services to become the type of leader that others want to follow, or help improve the culture and engagement of your teams, your organizations, and build greater community to help reduce lost costs due to turnover and inefficiency, reach out to me. I would love to help support you in your work. And if that is the avenue that you would like to go, you can find me and connect on my website. That is thenexusimpact.com or THENEXUSIMPACT.com. Thank you.
Noted.
Back to you, my co-host. Is there's been this change, and you've talked about like, okay, I'm seeing myself as like more whole now. So I'm going into this being like, this person's showing up in this way and it doesn't work for me. So I'm going to like not deal with it. What has that shift been for you in like your beliefs, whether they be about like yourself or about what dating looks like or both?
So, like wholeness is such a huge thing. It's so big. It's such a whole
What do you
word.
mean by that?
So like, so when I say wholeness, I mean knowing who you are, accepting who you are, and loving who you are, right? Like, so there's parts about me that are difficult to swallow, And so, and I say that not for other people to swallow, like for myself, like to give an example, we'll use the gym. We'll use the gym as an example. So sometimes, I have set days that I work out, and there's set things that I do on those days. Day 3, I'll wake up in the morning and I'm like, you know what? I don't feel like going to the gym today. And the fact that I have a schedule and I'm deviating from the schedule shows up in other places. So that's something about me that's hard to swallow sometimes, because I will think like, I'm supposed to do this. Now I'm not going to. And essentially going back on my agreement to myself, that's commitment, right? That's like unlayering that, right? Like, what am I doing to be a committed person? And I'm not even, sticking to what I said I was going to do for me. And so from there, then I'll have to be like, okay, you know what? Maybe I'm just not going to go to the gym in the morning. I'll go to the gym in the afternoon. And so like, being able to accept like, okay, sometimes I don't stick to the schedule. However, I can still make it work. So it's like, your wholeness is really just knowing how you're thinking, knowing how you deal with things, being able to accept it and to move forward. So, there were parts of me, and knowing that I'm responsible of actually fixing that of myself. So like, to go back to the filling the void part, right? Like, I'm going to say I have things and in me that, that weren't at the place that I wanted it to be. And so I wanted other people to put it where I wanted it to be. That is insane to say that out loud. And that is what I thought. I thought that was correct. When I'm not feeling loved, I need to be in a relationship so the other person can love me, right? And so what it has helped me to do to show like being confident in my wholeness is that it's okay if I meet someone and, they check boxes or whatever, however you want to call it. And maybe there's something that sticks out to me, or I have like this feeling in my intuition, like, I don't think this is like the vibe right now. It's okay for me to acknowledge it. And when I say acknowledge, I'm saying this to the other person. And it's so scary. Like, and I know that when I tell somebody, hey, I don't think that this is like something romantic that we can, pursue together. That's for me. It's not necessarily for them. It's because I know that I'm a person that is genuine and authentic. So that means that I need to be that way with you too, and so it's definitely helped me to notice things or be aware of how, someone kind of shows me who they are, and to be able to acknowledge it to them, like, hey, and not in a nitpicky way, because when I'm saying this, I'm being loving. I'm not saying this because I want to hurt your feelings. Like, I'm just telling you, like, this is how I feel. And expressing how I feel is this very new journey that I'm on. So I thought, what the heck? Might as well have a podcast. So, and that was another thing that was hard for me, when I was in relationships before, is that I wouldn't be comfortable in who I am to be able to voice, how I'm feeling to somebody, right? Because I'm thinking that they're going to leave me. So the fact that I really grasped that it's not bad to be alone. What's worse is being in a relationship and being alone. Because that's what my relationships was, I'm with this person and I'm alone, because I never gave them the chance to even know how I was feeling, and I was blaming them for how I was feeling. How crazy is that?
But so many of us do it. Like, I've done it, and you say it out loud and I'm like, ooh, past Gabby is called out right now.
Sorry, girl.
Yeah. What I love hearing in this is I hear like agility to be able to like kind of bob and weave and just like change plans, course correct, but still get to the end goal, mixed with self-compassion.
Self-compassion is so big. Like, being gentle with myself was so hard. It was so easy for me to get on my own ass. Like, you said you were going to do this and you didn't. See, this is why such and such left you 5 years ago. And just like beating myself up, or like, see, you're not able to lift this much in the gym because you didn't go to practice that one day in high school. Like, what? And like, having self-compassion for myself, it makes my life so much brighter, because I am a human doing life for the very first time. And so is everyone else in the world. Like, if I can give other people compassion, why wouldn't I give it to myself? Yeah.
It's so much easier. Actually, in the first published episode with my friend Deanna, we talk about how much easier it is to give everyone else in the world compassion than ourselves, and like what baloney that is.
And it's funny you say that, because it's a mirror, right? How people say like your relationships are mirrors. It's funny because I thought about, okay, how many times do I wake up in the morning, I look in the mirror, and like there's not a thought between my head. Like, I'm just going through the motions. I'm doing this, right? And then there's so many things that I could be telling myself that are positive, right? And then when I get to talking to my friends, and we're sharing with each other and we're giving each other like advice and stuff, and I'll say something because I see me in my friend, and now I feel that I want to share. It's really because I saw it in myself. So I'm not only telling you, I'm telling me that. So I started talking to myself in the mirror.
Mm,
Like,
I
you
love
know,
that.
yeah, like our relationships are definitely mirrors because you wouldn't have advice for someone unless you saw yourself in them.
Mm. Talk more about that.
Like, so one of the retreats that I went on, I met this girl and she's my bestie. And, um, we were doing like an exercise, right? It was like a personal development, class, and we were doing an exercise, and the exercise was find a partner. And I was like, "Ugh, great. I'm already like not wanting to be here. And I'm going to be here 7 days. Okay. So, I'm looking around and I'm just standing there. I'm just like, and then this woman walks up to me and she goes, "Do you want to be my partner?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And so we start talking and, within, I'm not even going to lie, 40 seconds, I was like, I'm staring at myself in the mirror. The things that she was sharing with me, like we were meant, I don't know if she's my sister from another life, like we were meant to meet. And from that moment on, it changed because I was like, before she walked up to me, I was so closed off. And it was funny because when she walked up to me, I felt the same energy. We had the same exact energy. We were like, I can't believe we have to do this. Like, I already have friends. I don't need more. It was that energy that we're in. And then once we literally like opened up to each other in 40 seconds, and I was like, wow. Like to hear the things that she was sharing with me and how like to hear what emotion she was going through and to completely understand what she meant because I was feeling the same thing. We were able to connect. So it's like, every time that we talk, and we got to like spill tea together on what's going on in our lives, it's like, I know that it's like literally we both went through breakups at the same time. Like we went through breakups at the same time. We started doing new experiences. Like I'll tell her, "Oh, I just did this today," and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I just da 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 da," and I'm like, "How?" She lives in Canada. You know what I mean? Like it's wild. And so that mirror effect is like when I'm telling you, when I'm hearing my friends and when they're sharing with me, I see, I see me in you. And that's obviously what attracted us to each other. So it's like, I'm telling you this out of love and I'm being compassionate to you. And at the same time, I'm giving that to myself too, because whatever I'm telling them, it's probably, I know it's something that I needed to hear that out of my mouth and into my ears instead of it just staying up here. And so later on, I'll always sit back and I'll be like, dang, I just had a really deep conversation with such and such. And everything I just told her was exactly what I needed to hear for myself. Then I got to whip out my journal, bang out a few pages, and it's vice versa too, right? Like, my friends give me like amazing advice, like you and me, you know what I mean? And it's like, oh yeah, I needed that. Like they see me,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like that mirror effect is wild.
It is. And because often I'll say things and I'm like, oh, I'm going to just go ahead and log that back for myself.
Yeah.
When you were talking, it reminded me when I heard the mirror analogy that someone had said the reason why you recognize traits in others or see things in other people is because you either are or have experienced that. And that's the reason why you can recognize that.
Mm-hmm.
And that has felt extremely powerful to me. And it was brought up in just a generalized statement once. And then it was brought up in an example of when we as people can be judgy. And the example was like when you're judging someone else because they're showing up in a certain way, you can only judge them on it because you have experienced that, because you have either delivered that or you like been that.
Yeah.
So you're only recognizing it. So like, be careful.
Yeah,
like,
very.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. That's where that compassion part comes in. Because it's like, like I said, we're all doing this life thing for the first time. Like, we have to make mistakes in order to grow. Like, in order to be successful in your business or successful as a parent, as a daughter, like success, the top ingredient is failure. It's got to be in there. in order for you to like, keep going.
And the failure tolerance too.
Yes.
To keep going. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit of a pivot here is, sharing your stories. How can they create connection for other people who might resonate with some of the things that you shared?
I think that they can resonate because, like I said, to go back to the failure part, like we're all doing this, for the first time. And it's like, I think that a lot of people, and I'm saying this out loud because I'm saying it to myself, that it's so easy to beat yourself up. And when you beat yourself up, nothing comes out of it. You know what I mean? Like, what, and I know what the result is when you make choices based out of emotions that you don't prefer. So like when you make choices out of sadness, out of being scared, and the result, because that's how you're standing here right now. Your life is the result of that. So I feel like it would resonate because what happens if you made a different choice? That risk is scary as hell. And it's exciting at the same time. And so like, I really think that a lot of us humans out here, like we really do just be scared. Like, honestly,
Too
like,
many of us acting out of fear all the time.
Right. Yeah. It's that making choices out of fear. And, I think like just to be another person to say out loud and be honest, like can give another person courage to do that for themselves in any other way, whether that means talking in the mirror, journaling about it. You know what I mean? Like to give them courage to be like, you know what? Because it's about loneliness. Because when things happen to me, I would think that I'm the only one in this world going through it. And it's not true, And so like just kind of, I feel like, yeah, like it's just the fact that we're all doing it. And like sometimes you just have to hear it from a complete stranger. Like, because we're all connected. We're all connected in whatever way. It's weird sometimes. Like I've really met people in the line to get poke, or and waiting in the line at Sam's, and they'll say something and I'm just randomly having conversations and like we just connect, and I'm like, I don't think I would ever meet you like just regularly out here. And so yeah, like you just never know how someone can actually help you in up here or if it's vice versa, and it's like it all comes down to like we're all freaking scared of something. We're scared of losing something, and we'll potentially make mistakes, and it's just the fact that you're not the only one, because I'm doing that shit all the time too.
Yeah. So like back to the self-compassion, like whether it's someone who can resonate with like your discussion on dating or that like feeling of self-worth and the wholeness is like everything's going to come out of that self-compassion is
exactly
like what I'm hearing. I love that. Okay. So for someone who can relate to like your stories, what would you say to your past self?
Ooh, a lot. What I would tell my past self, it would definitely be to take risks. And not only, and when I say take risks, I mean it like in a way of talk about how you feel. Tell people how you feel. That is a risk to me. It's a very big risk. And that's what I would tell her, because she was really scared. Like I said, that lack mindset of losing people. And it was because she thought that her words would hurt people. And that's because I used to speak from a way that was coming from anger. The times that I did, because, something has to happen in order for you to not want to do it anymore. And so I would come out of anger when I talked about my feelings. And that's why I would be like, oh, okay, well, I'm just not going to talk about it anymore because I don't want to, ruffle any feathers or make waves. Right. So I would tell her to take risks in talking about her emotions, because it's unfair to the other person, and you're holding to hold them accountable for how you feel, and they don't even know.
Yeah, it's that's, yeah,
Like plain and simple.
that's like kind of ironic, right?
Right.
Yeah,
You
so,
know? Mm-hmm.
yeah, risk with vulnerability. I love
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
That'll be like the
Like
the
openness to
shining
like the
message.
10th degree. Because you
Mm-hmm.
don't give anyone
Yeah.
a chance to know you when you don't actually tell them who you are. You only show them the parts that they like. And that's what I did. I would only show them the parts that that they liked about me. I wouldn't want to show them, you know, the sides that I wasn't sure if they did. And that goes again to the fact of not even allowing them the choice to make of if they liked it or not, right? And you know, there was so much insecurities under that for me. So many insecurities on, you know, of myself, and I would put those insecurities on people that I was in a relationship with, and it's not fair, you know. Like I said, they don't even know. So I would just keep my mouth shut, which is funny because I talk a lot.
I'm really interested in what past Tehani was like
Oh Lord.
because
She was
she's
very
grown to do some really amazing things. And
I
she's
will
such
tell
a
you
beautiful
this.
human.
So impulsive. So impulsive. And you know, and I'm not saying that's bad, because I think doing things on impulse can create really great experiences. At the same time, it can create not so great experiences.
Yeah.
You know, like especially in dating, you know, when I was in my 20s, in my early 20s specifically, my friends gave I can't believe I'm about to tell this. My friends gave me a nickname, and my nickname was Tenant Tehani. So let me elaborate. There was not many a time that I was really single. So I would get into a relationship, and then maybe, you know, we would break up, and then you know, I would be talking to somebody or dating or just hop into another relationship. And so that's why they would call me Tenant Tehani. I was occupying hearts.
Oh.
And so like that's where, you know, I get like a lot of my like experiences from dating, is because I was literally like always in a relationship. So right now is probably the longest time I've been single. And even now, it doesn't really seem that long. I've been single since September. And that, to me, like, that's a long time. It's a risk. You know, I have had the opportunity to be in relationships with people. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, I don't think so. Or, you know, I don't think it's going to work out, or whatever the reason may be. And so, yeah, I was super impulsive with my heart, with my love, because when I love, it's so deep and it feels so good. And I just want to like love you all the time. And I want to be around you, you know? And I realized that is not that healthy because, you know, I'm cycling through, it's not even just cycling through relationships. I'm cycling through so many emotions all the time that I'm not even giving myself the opportunity to process any of it or learn from it, you know? And so, yeah, like that, like I'm stumbling over my words, but it goes back to, like not only showing them parts of me, because once they would get to a part where they would see something they didn't like, then something would happen. And then I would be like, okay, the next one, I'm just not going to do that, or I'm not going to be that way, because then, you know, they'll leave. And then the next person, it was like, okay, well, now there's another thing that I'm not going to show the next person. And then by the time I got to the last one, I'm like, I feel like a shell of a person. Yeah.
And it really speaks to like past Tehani being like the person who is like seeking self-fulfillment through others. Cause then it, like, what I'm feeling from listening to this is, but if I'm alone with myself, then who loves me?
Yes, exactly. And then it goes even deeper into that. Look at me. You know, it all goes back to when I was a kid, you know, like it's those things that plant that seed in you when you're a child, no matter. And it's not, and you know, parents, like they don't mean to do it that way. It's just what happens, you know? And that's why I try to be so mindful when I'm with like my friends' kids and like how I'm being when I'm around them, you know? When my nephew, he's a nut. He's so funny. Like he's like, oh my gosh, look, look, look. And he's doing like, I don't know, jumps and spins. Like instead of just being like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Like in that moment, I make a switch and it's the most amazing thing in this world. And that's how I show him that was so amazing because like, it's true. Like they're going to remember those things. You know what I mean? And like from my experience, like I want to make sure that I'm mindful when I'm around children, you know? And so because like, it's not that, you know, parents want to be mean. Y'all just got a lot of shit going on. You know?
Yeah, exactly. And then like coming out of that to have compassion now and then also this is another thing I've noticed in all of these conversations is like talking about how we show up in the world to heal our wounds. So for you to be like, what I wanted most was for someone to be like, man, I have never seen anyone balance a pencil on their head like that. You are the most incredible pencil head balancer on this entire planet. That is so amazing. So that's how you show up now.
Yes. It's the most coolest thing. Like I'd never even saw freaking, what's her name? Dominique Dawes do something like that. You know, like yeah.
They need to make a new segment in the Olympics for those
for
tricks
that
you're showing me right now.
You know, yeah. And it's like paying it forward. It's paying it forward to my own child because again, it's a mirror. I see me, so I'm going to be my hero right now, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think that answers what would have been my next question that I ask everyone these 4 questions is what did you need to feel more connected to those around you?
Yeah.
Is to have people be like, man, look at you. You're crushing it.
You know? Like, yeah. And it took me so long to really realize that because it's funny because people were doing that to me in the past. And I didn't want to accept it because I felt I didn't deserve it, just like you said. Yeah. And it goes back to that mindset of deserving.
Yeah. And it's so hard to untrain that. I've tried to practice that lately too. And it still makes me uncomfortable. If someone gives me a compliment to just say thank you, or like, even if someone's like, oh, your baby's so cute, I'll be like, oh, thank you. And it's hard to not like try to add
something.
Anything else or to be like, oh, that's a cute outfit, and for me to be like, I got it for $2. Like why do you have this?
Yeah, it's so funny that you say that because one of my friends we were talking, we had like this really deep talk we had, and I forget what we were doing, and so he was like, he told me, I just appreciate you so much. Thank you. And he hugged me. And then I said, I appreciate you so much too. And and telling him. And then we're hugging. He pulls me away and he goes, sometimes you don't have to say anything. Like you can just accept what I'm saying sometimes. And I was like, so now I feel you. Like sometimes, you know, people will give me a compliment and I'm just like, thank you so much. And that's so hard. Yeah. Just like the internal panic is like, yeah. And like, that's what they call the work, right? You know how they that knows everything, like, you know, they're always like
the ethereal they.
It's always like, do the work. You got to do the work. Like that's the work, like making a different choice. You know, like, you know what it's like when you do something and you get that result. Like, what happens if you just make another one? What happens if I just hush and just fully be grateful instead of wanting to derail that compliment?
Yes.
And it feels so good.
Grateful and take that in. And my work has been in what does it feel like to just feel that compliment and to just take it in and just almost like I try to sometimes picture it like going deeper into me as a person and just like I'm letting that good feeling just go deeper and deeper and deeper. And what does it feel like to let it go through each layer of the onion that is me?
I'm going to take that away. Thank you.
Just good and warm.
Yeah, like attach a feeling to it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's pretty incredible. I'm like actively practicing that.
I love
Like,
that.
even this morning.
Yeah.
Uh, it's all the time. So for those who cannot relate at all, they're like, Tehani, I have been a whole person my entire life. I have never felt insecure. Like whatever someone who might not relate to what you're sharing. Maybe even it's just like feeling like they're not relate. Whatever, I'm not going to fill it in. They feel like they can't relate for whatever reason. How can your story help create more connection for that group of people who feel like they can't resonate?
That's a great question. Let's unpack it.
Yeah.
Let's
unpack
see.
it.
Because that's the thing about, especially like, well, like with podcasts, right? There's going to be things out there that don't resonate with people, right? And there's going to be people that don't subscribe, that watch it maybe for like 2 minutes and be like, this ain't my thing. I think for them,
and hopefully they've made it this far.
Hopefully.
Yeah. And this question is thanks to DJ, because the whole purpose of this platform is to bring people together who don't have shared experiences, who don't have shared beliefs. And so my sweet husband was like, okay, so are you going to like give people a way to practice that? So thanks to him for that question.
I would definitely, for people who don't resonate with it, I would highly encourage them to share. Because so like on my platform I have like a an opportunity where you can share your own stories and submit them for the podcast. I would highly recommend that, because when you're in a space of like, you know what, like I've been through that and I got through it, your story can help somebody else. And that's the thing, like we don't want to like gatekeep that. Is that what the kids are saying? Gatekeep. Like, is
it kids or is it us? And then
are we not still children?
I am always a child. Just
right.
The shell is getting older.
Yes. And so like, yeah, like, you know, it's like share it with somebody, because we all have the power to help each other, whether we know it or not, you know? And so it's not about always, you know, sharing about bad things, you know, anyone's story where it's like, you know, I did this and this is where I'm at now. Like, I would highly encourage them to share it in some type of form, you know, because like submit the email and tell me all about it, because I want to show other people that we're not all going through it. You know what I mean? Like, there's people out there who are already like, you know, at the level that they want to be, and other people should know about it. You know, it could really inspire people to kind of light that fire under their butt. I know it does for me. I have to watch other people be successful in order to be like, okay, I'm going to keep going. My video got 2 views. I'm posting another one. You know, like,
and that's also inspiration for me, since you know you're only a few weeks ahead of me in this journey.
Yeah, also. It's like you just
like, all right,
keep posting it. At least one person will see it.
Even if it's just my dog,
you know, you got an audience.
I think that's so beautiful. And I mean, even this platform too is like, just share, be open, let others learn from you. If you don't resonate with it, then like, you don't know who's picking up inspiration from you. Like, if you have something figured out, and then also this like message that I feel like I've heard from you throughout this entire hour is like, self-compassion, compassion for others, like allowing people to be that mirror for you and be agile. And that's so amazing.
Absolutely.
Any other messages or anything else for friends and folks?
Let's see. I would like to leave this by saying that it's okay to mess up. Like, it's and honestly, what I want to say, it goes back into compassion. Like, it's really okay to mess up. Like, life is not perfect. It's such a cliche saying, and it's so true, and it's so simple. In order for you to like continue to get to where you want to be, like, you have to mess up sometimes, and you got to pick up the pieces and then make a different decision, you know? And like be gentle with yourself, be graceful. And when you need support, reach out for it, because you don't have to go through things alone. I felt for a long time, I was raised by such a strong single mother, physically and emotionally. Like that lady is like, it's funny. She's probably like half my size and she could probably bench press me. Like she is the strongest woman that I know. Shout out to my mom. Love you, Eris. And, you know, when she showed me, you know, when I was younger that I can do anything that I want to do. Like I don't have to, you know, depend on other people. And again, that's because she learned it from her mom and so forth and so on. And as me and her relationship has continued to grow, she's now opened up this perspective to me of when you need support, you need to be a strong person and ask for it, because strong people ask for help. Like that is such a big thing to do. Because when you think about it, you think about big companies, you think about big families, you think about families of animals. It's not one doing it for everybody. You get support all around you. So have that courage to ask for support when you need it, because somebody wants to help you and they want to be there for you. Yes.
Absolutely. Have the courage to ask for help. It's not weakness.
It's not. I've asked so many of my friends to help me with this podcast that I have, like, you know, taking pictures, helping me do the setup, and just coming on as being guests. Every single one of them is like, absolutely. And I'm like, thanks, you know? And I'm thinking like, I'm coming up with this whole speech in my head that I need to rehearse to ask them. And then I'm like, okay, why don't I just ask them? And they're like, okay. You know, people want to help. Your people want to help you, you know? And so just don't be afraid to ask for support. And you know what? If someone's not able to, don't let that deter you from asking someone else, because maybe that's just not the person at the time that needs to support you in that. You know what I mean? Maybe there will be another time that they need to support you something else, and vice versa. You know, when you want to support somebody, support them because it's genuinely coming from your heart, and it's not coming from, well, they're my friend, so I have to. No, you don't have to.
Right.
Yeah,
our boundaries are important too. Yeah,
absolutely.
Not going out of that sense of obligation, and the respect of the boundaries, and then also allowing people to help you is like part of this multifaceted piece that's so important.
Yes.
So incredible.
Absolutely. Chef's kiss.
I started saying chef's kisses as if it's plural, like they're doing this.
Multiple. You got to do it like two, like the Italians, right? They're like,
yeah. Well, thank you so much. This has been absolutely delightful. And I think there were so many just tremendous nuggets for listeners, viewers alike.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun. And I appreciate you creating this like warm space. And we're like an ocean and a continent almost away from each other. And I can feel your energy that you're giving to me. And it's just like, I really appreciate it. And for taking time to listen to some of my stories.
Yes. Well, likewise, I can feel your heart and your generosity. So thank you for feeding that back to me.
A special thank you goes out to Sparta Media Group for producing this podcast ever so fantastically. So thank you to Jesse and his team. And an additional special thank you goes out to my sweet and talented husband, DJ Richardson, for creating the music that is used in this production. Thank you so much, so deeply for spending your time with me here on the Nexus of Narratives. I hope that you found this to be a tremendously valuable use of your time and your capacity, and that this might help you to create greater connection and compassion in the spaces all around you.
that.
Wow.
That was pretty fancy. Our
That
first
was very
virtual.
It wasn't like, lowers the nervousness.
It does. Yeah, this virtual setup. So this is our first one. So we got this nice like darkened screen. It counts down. I'm really interested to see how it works with any kind of delays that go on. So this is going to be a learning experience for all of us. But welcome. Hello.
Hello.